They were so close. Oregon was so close to just riding their season in one game. In one game, it could have been easy to just forget everything that had happened in the 4 games prior if you had gone to number 9 Michigan State and played a full 40 minutes of basketball. But they didn't. Couple of problems here as the spiral continues. I have not seen anything like this in college basketball that I can remember in the last couple of years, certainly not with Oregon, because generally when Oregon hits this lull in the season and starts playing poorly over a prolonged stretch and losing games that they shouldn't or losing games they could win in frustrating fashion, normally their resume is so weak, they're playing themselves off the bubble. What Oregon has done in the last couple of weeks with a 5-game losing streak and 6 of 7 defeats is they have played themselves out of a potential top 3 seed. Now, Joe Lunardi's next bracketology comes out on Tuesday, which is when Oregon hosts Northwestern. Late game, by the way, and I'll get to that game in a sec, but man, Oregon has to have it. On3's bracket projection has Oregon down to a 9 seed after losing to Michigan State. I bet Lunardi has them at an 8 or maybe even holds them steady at a 7. But it has been a rapid fall from grace to go from a projected 3 seed when they were 16-3, and you don't have to win every game to hold that mark. Over the last 5 games, Oregon lost at Minnesota, unranked, at UCLA, also unranked, but playing better basketball, at Michigan, at home against Nebraska, then at Michigan and at Michigan State, who were at number 24 and number 9 respectively when Oregon played them. To remain in the projected top 4 seeds in the tournament, Oregon probably has to win at least 2, maybe 3 of those games. I suspect if they had beaten either Minnesota or UCLA and Nebraska at home and one of the Michigan teams, then they're still probably a projected top 4 seed. Maybe they fall down to 4, but if you'd picked up another quality win. But they didn't. They didn't. Oregon went out and played its best half of basketball of the year. Hostile environment, really good team. Yes, as I talked about on Friday's show with Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans, Michigan State was reeling a bit. They had lost 2 straight, but they had not lost on their home floor all year, and Oregon went gangbusters in the first half. They hit 10 threes, including a Bartholomew triple at the buzzer to stretch their lead to 14. They led 50-36 at the break. They lost by 12. Man. As great as the first half was, the second half was equally as bad. 2 things that went wrong for the Ducks here. Number 1, bad shot selection or a lack of shot selection. So Oregon in the first half, that has not been a great 3-point shooting team this year, hit 10 threes. Shelstad was hot. He had 18 in the first half. Evans hit a 3. Biddle was hitting 3. They were falling. That's great. They shot the ball in the second half like they wanted to make 23s in the game. That's not realistic. If you hit 13 threes in a game, on average, you would be one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. That's not how 3-point shooting goes. So if you make 13 triples in a game, I don't have a stat off the top of my head. I bet you your team's win percentage is somewhere around 80 to 90%. You are incredibly tough to beat if you make 13 triples. But what Oregon ran into is they got 3-point happy, and they have no inability right now to consistently score inside. And that is a 3-pronged problem. When Shelstad gets downhill, he's not super big, but he's not putting up floaters the way he used to. He had a drive to the basket in the second half where he could have easily put the ball up off the glass and at least given the bigs a chance for an offensive rebound. But frankly, I've seen him finish far more difficult shots. Instead, he passed it to the corner and got a shot clock violation. TJ Bamba, who I thought was much better with his shot selection in this game, not forcing threes and trying to get inside. He can be an excellent finisher. When he doesn't have an open lane, he doesn't know how to throw up a jump hook. So he drives to get 5 feet from the basket. He's chiseled at 6'5", and he passes the ball out. And then the other problem is Nate Biddle, who, well, and Brandon Angel has some culpability here as well, because Angel is just too soft. He's getting pushed around game in and game out. And Dana Altman's got this tough line to walk of, do I put in KJ Evans, who played great in this game, by the way? Do I put in KJ Evans, who's a better defender and a better rebounder, but relies on others to get offensive points and is not as great of a shooter? Or do I put in Angel, who's an incredibly skilled offensive player, but gives you nothing in terms of defense and rebounding? That's what the line he's having to walk right now with those guys. But Biddle has just completely lost the thread on how to score inside. The few jump hooks he does put up are not going down. And then they just don't have an ability. Biddle is not as big and strong as N'Faly Dante, and it shows up. So that's one problem, is on a day where the three-point shots were going down, Oregon didn't want to be balanced. They just kept putting up the threes, and a lot of them were not close. Shelstad had an air ball. Tracy had some ugly bricks. They were just bad. They were just bad. So that's the first problem. The second problem is this team is too often lost and lacking intensity on the defensive end of the floor. It's way too easy for other teams to score inside. And Michigan State at will just got downhill with their bigs, with their guards, with Jason Richardson's son, whoever. They were scoring inside. And it's not just that Biddle was not blocking shots as he usually does. It's that guys were just getting beat and getting pushed around way too often. Way too often. The defensive effort of this team in the last 5 games, all losses, has been so un-Dana Altman-like. And that's where it has to start. Because in the last 2 games, both against Michigan, when they put up 76, and in this game where they were over 70 as well, those are good offensive games. It used to be that 70-plus points was an automatic win, because Dana's not giving up more than 65. But in the last 5 games, Oregon has allowed at least 77 points in every game. That's unacceptable. And this is a complete collapse at the moment. And Dana's got to find a way to right the ship, or he's going to play himself out of the NCAA tournament after a 16-3 start with wins over Texas A&M and Alabama. And I knew Oregon wasn't going to... Well, I mean, I know what the potential of this team is. The potential is go into East Lansing and put up 50 points in the first half. They did it with defense, which turns into offense and easy buckets. That's the only way they really score in the paint. The potential of this team is still there, but man, their floor is low. So now Tuesday, 8 p.m. local time tip, which is super late, against Northwestern, and then Rutgers at home on Sunday, no other way to slice it. If Oregon wants to be an at-large team, they have to win both of those games. Because if they can't win both of those games at home, then guess what? I don't know how many games they're going to win. And those early season wins are holding them squarely into the field of 68 right now. They won't do that forever if they keep stacking up the bad losses. All in all, losing at Michigan State and at Michigan, not the end of the world when you play well in both. The problem, though, is they should have won at Michigan State. They could have won at Michigan. Either win could have stabilized things for the time being. And then you stack up the bad losses. UCLA getting blown out. Nebraska at home is a 7.5-point favorite. Minnesota, not a great team. Improved, but not that good. I don't expect, and nor should you, complete perfection in these situations. Nobody is. Auburn just got trounced on their home floor. They're the best team in college basketball, okay? These things are going to happen. Great teams put up, top 5, 6 seeds in the NCAA tournament with anywhere from 6 to 8 losses. That's normal. What's not normal is stacking up the bad losses. You can have 1 or 2. You can't have 3 to 5. And that's where this team is at right now. They're in danger of allowing these things to cycle. or spiral, snowball. Just keep gathering negative momentum. So, I mean, it's bad. There's no other way to put it. It's bad, and it has to start with defense. Yeah, you'd like him to shoot the ball better, but it doesn't matter. 10 threes, 50 points in a half, 74 points on the road, boom, you lose by 12. How? You can't get stops. It's got to start there. And at some point, this team needs to say enough is enough, and they just don't. They're passive with shot. Bamba and Shelstad not putting up shots when they should. It's a frustrating team to watch because they're not battling injuries like they were in the previous years. That's not the problem here. It's not, well, wait till this guy gets back. No, all the pieces are there. They just have to play better. Tuesday night, Northwestern. I hope on Wednesday's show, my third segment of the pod is talking about a win that stopped an L5. If not, full on, I might melt down here on the show. I might start pulling my hair out, and I don't even know what's going to. Oregon has to win that game. You got to win both games this week. These teams are not that good. But Oregon can beat anybody. Oregon can lose to anybody. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.